Welcome to Fortress of Faith with Tom Wallace, calling North America to repentance and revival.
Welcome back to the Corner of Truth and Courage. You're listening to Fortress of Faith. This is Tom Wallace. Well, yesterday I shared with you that I'm pre-recording these broadcasts for this week. Currently, as you're listening to these broadcasts, I'm over in the Middle East on a mission trip, and I'm looking forward to coming back and sharing with you what's going on over in the Middle East. And exciting developments are taking place, and so I'm looking forward to that. And today we're going to continue in part number 2. I did a conference in Charlotte, North Carolina, not too long ago, and we're just going through my presentation that I did for the pastors there. By the way, if you're a church leader and are interested in having me come and share about Islam, Unveiling Islam Sundays I do across the nation. In that, we kind of, lift the veil, and like we're doing here in these broadcasts, and we also get into how to engage Muslims. And so if this is a topic that you feel needs to be addressed, and it really does, because so many Muslims are moving into our community, and Christians are kind of at a loss. What do? We just see them as terrorists, and we get filled with fear of, well, I can't go witness to them, and what if they cut off my head or whatever? A lot of fear. And so we when you get facts, that helps you overcome some of that fear. I'd be delighted to come. Contact us. Go to our website, fortressoffaith.com. By the way, we have seats still available for our trip, a Bible Land tour in November 6th through the 14th. And we're going to fill these seats up quickly. If you've ever gone on a Bible Land tour, you know these things are going to cost usually around the $5,000 price range there. Get a hold of this, under $3,500 for this trip. And we're going to the 7 churches of Revelation. We're flying into Istanbul together. The cost includes your flight from your local major airport, and we'll meet in New York and fly over together. And this tour is designed for easy. It's not going to wear on you. It's not going to be something that you're going to have too much difficulty to go on. And so we're going to be, going into Istanbul and seeing the beauties there, but we'll make our way down into Pergamos and Smyrna and Sardis and Thyatira, Philadelphia and Laodicea, and then, of course, Ephesus. But we'll also take in a couple other cities that are in that area. Colossae is where the book of Colossians was written to, and Hierapolis, mentioned in our Bible. All that's there, and it's an amazing, amazing trip. Hope you can come and join us. We only have 30 seats. Contact us, and we will be glad to chat with you about that. All right, so let's get into part number 2. We're going to get into some of the apologetics and polemics. Now, the apologist, most Christians are familiar with that term. It's a biblical term. Paul said, I am going to give my defense, my apologia. We're called to defend the truth on many occasions in the Bible. And then there's another side to being the polemist. Being the apologist is being the polemist. The apologist makes a defense. When someone says something false or wrong against our faith, our doctrine, our truth, we defend that with a response. And that's an apologist. Imagine a courtroom. You have a defense team. That's the apologist. On the other side of the table, you've got the prosecutors. Those are the polemics. And the polemics are making a case of wrong. And so in dealing with Islam, they make some false statements about God, about Jesus, about the Bible, about the Trinity, and many other things. And so sometimes we have to wear the hat of the apologist. But then sometimes we have to take the side of the prosecutor and make a case against their false teaching and call them out. Muhammad was not a prophet. He was not a holy man. The Quran is not true. The Quran is not without error. When we compare the Bible and the Quran, it's like comparing a fighter jet loaded with missiles and the latest technology, and that being our Bible, and then comparing that with the Quran and that being a paper airplane. I know that kind of sounds condescending, but honestly, the comparison is kind of like that. So let's begin with what I call the 5 popular myths. Myth number 1, Islam is a religion of peace. Now, already that doesn't pass the sniff test, does it? I mean, we have already seen the religion of peace in all the death and killing and the gruesome killing that they go about. Now, they want to say that Islam means peace, but it doesn't. That's not what Islam means. The word Islam actually means submit, submission. And that's the goal, to bring everyone submitted to Allah and His law, the Sharia. Now, once you are submitted, then you will have peace. So the ultimate goal of Islam, the end game, so they say, is peace. And when the whole world has surrendered to Allah and His way, then the world will have peace. So the goal of Islam might be, theoretically, peace. But Islam does not mean peace. In fact, actually, the word Muslim means the surrendered one, the surrendered one. Let me quote Caliph al-Baghdadi. Do you remember who he was? He was the self-proclaimed prophet of ISIS. He used to be commander in Al-Qaeda. And, he actually was a genuine cleric, yes, but he was a warmonger. And he claimed himself to be caliph. And he said, "O Muslims, Islam was never for a day of the religion of peace. Islam is the religion of war. Your prophet was dispatched with a sword." And he quotes the prophet Muhammad. "I came to you with slaughter." And so, the fact is that the terrorist, the Islamist or the jihadi or however you want to call it, the word I like to use is fundamentalist. The ones who are fundamental to the faith of Islam, they are militant. They may not all have the courage to follow Allah's command and Muhammad's command, but those who do, those become terrorists. A friend of mine wrote a book, The Tears of Jihad, and in it, he documented Bill Warner. Bill Warner is an academic. His actual credentials, he's a professor, he's not a Bible college professor. He's a professor at a state university. He's a quantum physicist. In his early life, he experimented with all different religions and stuff. In fact, actually, he fancied one day to become a Muslim, so he started studying it, and then realized, oh my goodness, that's not from God. And he looked at a lot of different religions there, but he's been quite vocal against Islam. And he wrote this book, Tears of Jihad. In it, he documents, and it's a tremendous work he did, because the academic work he put into this is pretty deep. 120 millions were killed with the sword of Islam of Africans. Africans, they slew 120 million. Christians, they've slain 60 million. Hindus, they've killed 80 million. Buddhists, they've killed 10 million. And Jews, they've killed hundreds of thousands of Jews with the sword. So much for the sword, for Islam being religion of peace. Number 2, another myth, that Allah is the same as Jehovah. I mentioned this yesterday. By the way, if you ever miss any of our programs, go back to our website. You can catch old programs. We're also on Spotify, and we're on YouTube as well. So number 2, Allah is the same as Jehovah. They always start with that. And my response, again, is wonderful. So then your God has a son. then they look at us kind of strange and almost an ugly look. No, Allah hath no son. Then we don't have the same God, because my God has a begotten Son, and his name is Jesus Christ. Can I show you in the Bible where it tells me that? And so we never give them ground that we have the same God, because clearly we don't. Number three, third myth, that the prophet Muhammad is greater than the prophet Jesus Christ. There's a whole list of things that we could go through, but I'm short on time. But let me give you just a few examples there. Well, the prophet Muhammad had a natural birth. Jesus had a supernatural birth. The prophet Muhammad, there are 6 places in the Quran where he confesses and admits his sin. But Jesus was sinless. The prophet Muhammad never performed any miracle except for the so-called miracle of giving us the Quran, which he never wrote. That's another story. But Jesus performed countless numbers of miracles. We could go on. How in the world can the prophet Muhammad be greater than the prophet Jesus Christ? Academically is something that they cannot argue. They just say it because they believe it. Number 4, the fourth myth, the Bible has been corrupted. Now that is they always come at us with that. Oh, your Bible's corrupted. And I'll teach you. We don't have time to get into it deeply right now, but we'll get into a reply to that as we go further. And the reply is, okay, on what authority do you say that? And they're going to tell you, well, the Quran tells me that the Bible was corrupted. And so, of course, we want to know where. Can you show me where? Well, they don't know where, so we help them. We take them to chapter 3, verse 17. And actually, it doesn't say what they think it says. It says that Muhammad came across some Christians who misquoted the Bible with their tongue. Didn't say that the text was corrupted, that some people were misquoting it. Well, that doesn't mean the Bible's corrupted because someone misquoted it. So if I misquote the Quran, does that mean that the Quran is corrupted? No. So, it's just, they cannot state where they have their teaching that the Bible is corrupted. The modern cleric told them so, not the Quran. And number 5, the fifth false statement out there is that Gabriel gave revelations to the prophet Muhammad. If the same angel, Gabriel, gave these revelations, then he must have lied originally, or he was a liar later, because he clearly did not say the same message. And every bit that's in the Quran is based upon these revelations from this spirit that they believe was the angel Gabriel. In fact, when Muhammad first came into the presence of this spirit, he thought he was demon-possessed and was going to commit suicide because he was convinced it was a demon. But his wife, Khadijah, persuaded him differently. And we'll get into the quotes and the proof of all what I just said in other times in this broadcast. But I'm looking at the time. We're going to have to stop here. But tomorrow when we come back, we'll go further into this, and I hope it will illuminate you to these issues. So thank you for joining us at the Corner of Truth and Courage. Now go out and be salt and light.